house of the night. Alright, let's get this done. Whoa, 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 whoa. You should be in bed. What's that? Need a bedtime story. Well, I think I got some time. Come on, I know the perfect place. So, you want a good bedtime story, huh? Well, I think I got just the thing for you. This is a good one. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
In 1984, some guy with a P in his name somewhere in there.
I got a pee! You sure? Drinking 8 bottles of Prime!
Made a game about falling squares. And while this game at the time proved to be pretty successful in the PC landscape, it wasn't until 1989 in collaboration with Nintendo when Mr. P-Man helped to create the most iconic version of his original game on a crappier display.
Game Boy comes complete with batteries and the outrageous new game Tetris.
Yeah, I don't know about outrageous there. You might want to stick to Amazing Tater, little man. Potatoes! Like, seriously, what is this, man? I bet I could see the game better if I just splashed ketchup on the screen. But following this event, every developer in the industry wanted a slice of that square-dropping pie and decided that they needed to make a landmark puzzle game that would sell more than 2 copies. And most of them didn't do that. But today, we're going to be talking about one of those attempts. And while this game had nothing to do with falling squares, it definitely had to do with the rapidly falling rate of my sanity, because for some reason, I don't know, out of everything to be addicted to, you know, I guess Zoop's better than nicotine, so this is what we got. Before Viacom got their greedy paws on a game like this and marketed it to be what it is known as by, you know, the 4 people on the planet that did own it, 2 men were responsible for its initial creation. And today, we're going to be talking about the history of this game, these men, and I don't know, I'm probably going to break it in here too, so you all know how I do videos on here. Even if it's a really cool analysis essay thing, I got to, you know, put my own twist on it. So let's keep rolling.
Real quick, just in case, you know, anybody had any doubts that I am not a qualified enough individual to be talking about such a touchy subject, I have discussed Zoop not once but twice in the past. So, take that, Scott. Yeah, I bet you thought you were so cool showing Zoop in your horror games video. Well, I did it first! But also because I am just confirmed to be the #1 Zoop fan in the world. Yeah, does Jason McGann follow you on Twitter? I didn't think so. Zoop, like many other games during this generation, really just throws you right in there with no real sense of direction, only leaving you to really figure out what you're doing, you know, fumbling around like a stupid idiot. But this game is a lot. I almost just told a lie. This game has more meat on its bones than you would initially be led to believe just by its presentation. Personally, I feel like the game stands out in a big way by simply giving you something to control, rather than just moving blocks back and forth and stacking them up. Zoop's primary gameplay just has you be this little Dorito in the center of the screen, and your goal is to keep these guys from getting to your square. If they get in the square, you lose the game. What you want to do is shuffle the colors around by using your little dude to pick them up and place the colors in different sections and let them stack up until you can wipe out an entire line. That's what is called a Zoop. That's why the game is called that.
In reality, Zoop is merely an okay game that did nothing but disappoint people back in the day thanks to its incredibly aggressive marketing.
Hey, whoa there, buddy. We haven't gotten to that part yet. Ignoring the obvious lies that are spewing out of this dork's mouth, Zoop is pretty engaging, all things considered, in terms of the puzzle genre, just because it changes it up. Actually, in my opinion, Zoop resembles more of a defense-type game rather than a straightforward, just block puzzle game. Think of something like Missile Command, except, you know, it's fun and actually has strategy involved with it.
How would you describe it in like 1 sentence?
Action puzzle game.
Okay, so sort of like Tetris, was that?
Yeah, it's like Tetris, probably with a little bit of shoot 'em up put in there, if you like.
The brain-teasing objectives of swapping the colors around to make really high stacks and then clear them out in one blow is really exhilarating and pretty fun, all things considered. However, Just because the game itself is pretty entertaining, it doesn't mean it's very nice to look at. Finally, I get to make a reference to the Persona 3 Portable remaster. Yeah, this game looks horrible. Okay, that may have been an over-exaggeration, just a little bit. The entirety of these games does not look terrible, but really, to me, the only ones that look really nice are the PlayStation and Saturn versions. Just something about the 3D presentation on these consoles compared to the 16-bit ones, it's just so much different. The pieces on the board flip around and they shine like they have some kind of metallic surface. You can't even see under them. They have a shadow cast as if they're floating above the board. It's really neat. Every version of the game shares the exact same patterns on the board as they continue on, but when it comes to any other system besides the Saturn or the PlayStation, the only nice looking parts are the final sections where it's like cloudy, and that's really it. When this is like your first presentation, it's no wonder why people thought this game looks so bland.
That one looks like Mickey. And that one looks like a cease and desist.
Now, to be fair, from what I understand, this was an intentional design decision to increase the challenge. In fact, the colorization of the backgrounds was something the developers called an opti-challenge system or whatever, where the backgrounds would progressively get more distracting, which I guess is cool in concept. Actually, that's just another lie. It makes the game look mad ugly. And I hate to say it, but the music befalls a similar fate. When it comes to the 32-bit systems that this game came out on, I think the music is really nice. It's pretty atmospheric. It almost feels like it belongs in kind of like a factory level of a platformer or something. Whereas on the other hand, you have consoles like the Genesis and Super Nintendo where it's just really bombastic and high energy. It sounds straight out of Bubsy 3D, if anything. I'm sorry, man. It's just more annoying than anything else. It's the equivalent of having a toddler in your ear constantly blowing one of those stupid plastic horns. Yeah, you know the ones I'm talking about, the ones you get like the duck game at the carnival.
I love those games!
Yeah, those are
you pay 50 cents and they rip people off!
If these two problems could have just been, tweaked a little bit, if the game was just a bit more flashy on the other systems, if it just sounded a bit more smooth, I think we'd have a real winner on our hands. Could really use a glass of this. But it seems like with Viacom as the publisher, they had more interest in telling people how awesome the game was, rather than overseeing the development a bit more to make sure that the game could come out as well as it possibly could have. I wonder how much they charged for this game anyway. It had to be like $20 or something. Star Wars Outlaws is looking a lot more appealing.
I have a structured settlement and I need cash now. Call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now.
I found the rarest game of all time. Look. It's Zoop.
Now this is where it gets good, because I get to flex my reckless spending on all y'all. Zoop's marketing was pretty extreme to say the least. And that's putting it lightly. Genuinely, this is no over-exaggeration. This game had so much marketing behind it to such a absurd degree, more than some games from first-party developers at the time would be willing to put into their games. This was everywhere. They pushed it so hard because they truly thought that this thing was gonna be the next Tetris. And I mean, maybe if you made it look a little prettier, then maybe it could have. The marketing is probably one of the only reasons that anybody even has a clue what Zoop is today, simply because it was everywhere. I guess we can take a look at the most infamous examples first, that being the television ads.
How long was he playing before you took it away?
17 straight days.
Should we give it back?
Not yet.
Man, I genuinely can't imagine why this game didn't sell well. Honestly, you could draw every aspect of this game's failure to this ad. I don't know how they expected anybody to want to buy their game when this is what they see being told to buy it. They treat the thing as if it's some kind of rare disease or a really addictive substance, and, I don't know if you knew this, Viacom, but, parents don't really like their kids being addicted to stuff. And it's pretty ironic, because this isn't some kind of foreign, strategy when it comes to marketing. In fact, when I watch this, it really makes me think of something like the Virtual Boy ads, where they depict the Virtual Boy as some kind of giant, monster that came from the abyss or something, and it's kind of just like, you want me to buy this? But this isn't the only instance that they use this kind of strategy. Here I have 2 print ads for the game that came out around the exact same time. And genuinely, what am I looking at here? Like I said earlier, a lot of the marketing for this game really just depicted it as some kind of rare disease or something. It's so it just makes no sense.
Fuck this shit!
came in this fucking room and everything went fucking bad. Fuck this shit.
It doesn't make any sense why you would advertise a game like this. Like this one right here shows the heart's blood output on different scales, and it's like whenever you're playing Zoop, you're like your heart's putting out like 5 times as much blood than when you're walking. That doesn't sound healthy to me, dude. Wow, the iris of my eye is gonna change to the orange shape. Like, are we sure this isn't just the Black Plague? Even on the right side, they depict each of the consoles and just have the name of it, and it's just listed under a fucking bug. Why? On this second ad, it's a little bit more tame, but it's another thing where it just makes no sense. Right in the middle, it's got like some kind of warning label in red text, and while it's kind of just like a joke saying, oh, how addictive this game is, you gotta think of the casual person. They're gonna look at this and just not want to touch it. It's like if someone handed you a tick and it was like, oh, he is your best friend, trust me, just put him on your head, bro. I ain't doing that.
Fuck off.
Right here it shows the money spending patterns, but before you play the game and after you play the game, man. And honestly, I didn't even look at it like that when the first time I saw it. I was just like, what the hell? How does this food turn into a Sega Saturn?
Hey! This is my Saturn!
No, I'm gonna starve!
The representation here is just so absurd. What's next? Zoop's part of a balanced breakfast. You're damn right it is. Thankfully, we do have some more not clinically insane examples of print advertisements for this game. Like this copy of Electronic Gaming Monthly from June 1995 has a pretty normal ad just explaining what the game is, even noting that Viacom is hoping that this title will be as addictive as Tetris.
Why don't you hope in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills up faster?
Volume 78 of Nintendo Power gives Zoop 2 whole pages of marketing. And this is more in line with what they really should have gone with. The segment in Nintendo Power just kind of goes over what the game is and kind of gives you some tips on how to play and what certain things mean. This actually sounds really entertaining and makes me want to go play the game instead of,
Gross! He never stops. Look at the way he moves! Up and down. He must be double jointed. You gotta see this.
That kid's gotta be like 14. What is wrong with these people? I genuinely wish they would have went for a more explanatory level of advertising like what is featured in Nintendo Power, because telling kids if they play this puzzle game they're gonna end up in an insane asylum, I don't understand what kind of market they were going for. Then again, the presentation with the weird shapes and moving backgrounds, it really makes you feel like the only way that you'd be able to enjoy this game is on an acid trip. Hey, yo, wait, is that the Boomerang logo?
Who cares, Yuki?
That could have been their demographic, actually, just advertised to acid junkies. The problem is that acid junkies only have acid money and don't have Zoop money. I guess Nintendo wasn't much better with stuff like this. Yeah, no thanks, Yoshi's Island. I don't plan on turning into Chef Boyardee anytime soon. In 1994, right before Zoop's release, Viacom had acquired Blockbuster because they weren't failing enough. So it just made even more sense to put that acquisition to good use. When Zoop was released, they had a special deal run at Blockbuster that if you rented Zoop, you got to rent another game completely free. I mean, in all honesty, this was just an excuse for me to show that my Super Nintendo copy has a Blockbuster sticker. However, everything up to this point has been pretty service level. Most games at the time did get print ads. Television spots were a bit more rare, but would you believe me if I told you that Zoop was present at what was once the most influential stage in the entire gaming industry?
Game Inferno Tournament. This weekend at the Ferguson Con Center, teams of 2 will battle for the ultimate prize. So sign up with a friend and go maximum.
E3 1995, baby. Yeah, you know what's up with this one. $2.99. Yes, believe it or not, Zoop was present at this show. Not in any of the press conferences, but on the showroom floor. However, I, for the life of me, could not find any physical footage of this. But I did find records that the game was present only on Sega's stage for the Saturn, the Genesis, and the Game Gear. Yet they'll gladly show NHL hockey in the press conference, bunch of bitches.
You raggedy bitch.
And in case you still don't believe me, I have this physical postcard showing proof that Viacom really wanted you to come there to see Zoop. Listen, man, all I'm saying, I'll take Zoop over Mortal Kombat 3 any day.
Yeah! Fuck you.
When I die, I put my money in the grave. I really gotta put a couple camels in their place. I've lapped other camels in the race. When I die, I put my money in the grave.
As I mentioned at the start of the video, Zoop was a two-man band, and that's not just coming from me, that's straight from Jason McGann's mouth himself.
Although it was a two-man band, really, Zoop. It was a guy called Pete Tattersall and myself, and I was the programmer and Pete was the artist.
Both him and Peter Tattersall are the two people who are most likely responsible for not only Zoop's creation, but the creation of the development company behind the game itself. Both of them were former members of a studio called Twilight, and they founded Hookstone in 1994. For the longest time, I figured this company just vanished out of nowhere, but knowing that it was pretty much created just to make Zoop and that's it is so cool, and I think that's really, really funny. I mean, Hookstone has another game under their belt, but also, from what I can find, Peter and Jason had absolutely no involvement with this game anyway. And even after Zoop's release, both Jason and Peter would go on to be part of plenty more projects into the future, and Jason especially had a key role in Rockstar Leeds during the mid-2000s when they developed games for the PSP like Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories, along with the PS2 ports of those games as well. It really is super cool to see these guys' resume and know that they went on to be pretty good developers in their own right, along with, you know, having be the reason that I am currently wasting 20 minutes of your life talking about some stupid puzzle game from 1995. I don't know, man. I think that's just that's something really, really magical. And it's not just me. That's a fact. Thank God, because at this point I probably have to be checked into a psychiatric ward. There are plenty of people who have made videos on Zoop, and that's really awesome. And there are people out there who even see parts of Zoop as like really, really influential. Scouting on the internet, I found this paper done up by the Art Center College of Design, showing various projects that their students had made over decades. And right in the 1990s section, Zoop is there, front and center. The logo is put into this project as it is considered worthy of mention by its design. And that's awesome. I think Zoop stands a lot higher than most other trashy shovelware games for their respective consoles, just because this thing not only has somewhat of a legacy and a presence today, despite being very little, but it shared the stage with some of the biggest representatives of this industry today. And not only that, but knowing this game was on the same floor as things like the Virtual Boy, the prototype for the Nintendo 64, the Ultra 64, Mortal Kombat 3. I don't know, man. It's really neat. And on top of that, probably because of Viacom's Blockbuster purchase, but Zoop was featured in Blockbuster's second World Video Game Championship as one of the earlier games played in the competition. It was even featured on a British TV series called Game Master. As much as I would really love to see something like a remaster or even just a re-release, just something, I don't see it happening. Viacom New Media has been liquidated for a long time, and Zoop's trademark filing expired over 2 decades ago, so... But we did get Best Puzzle Game in the Nintendo Power Awards, baby! But even despite all of that, I don't think it's too much of a far-fetched statement to say that after 5 years of being constantly obsessed with it and collecting every variant of the game out there, it's fair to say that Zoop is my favorite puzzle game of all time. The end. Man, who knew religious text could be so riveting? Well, it's getting pretty late, and I think you should take yourself back to bed. What's that? You have a gift for me? I don't think I've ever gotten a gift from someone before. Oh, thank you. Wait. You're on the naughty list! Also, the green screen looks shitty on purpose, I swear. And no, I didn't forget the Zoop and You Don't Know Jack combo pack for the PC.